Now we will discuss protective tissues. Two protective tissues which you will study in detail, that is epidermis and cornea. But to understand those tissues, first we will discuss a transverse section of a stem. You must have observed a log of wood, or you must have seen it bache, in certain cartoons or in your personal life, in your everyday life. The log of wood appears like this. This is a dicotyledonous plant stem bache. What are monocot and dicot, that you will study in your chapter diversity in living organisms. But if I give you a general introduction of that, monocotyledon means single cotyledon of a seed. You must have seen a grain of rice that doesn't divide into two halves, whereas the black gram, kale chane, that will divide it into two halves very easily and makes, the pulse of black gram, that is chane ki dal. So these are the two cotyledons in case of black gram and pea, matar, whereas there is only single cotyledon in case of wheat or rice. So this stem is of a dicotyledonous plant, in which the seeds have two cotyledons. Di means two and cotyledons are food storage tissue. So the first one here is cuticle. Cuticle is a layer which is made by cutin and a waxy substance. Cutin is a protein bache, which combines or which joins with a waxy substance released by epidermis, that we will study, and forms a waterproof layer, that is cuticle. Cuticle is a waterproof layer bache, that does not allow the water to cause or to pose any harm to the plant parts. This, finger-like or hair-like structures are trichomes, root hair, epiblema. These are the modification of epidermis. These fine hair-like structures helps the roots in the form of root hairs to absorb the water very easily, as their thin membrane will help in the rate of diffusion to occur very easily, very rapidly. याद रखिएगा, in case of diffusion, more thinner the membrane, more rate of diffusion is. जितनी membrane thin होगी, उतना rate of diffusion, the speed of diffusion is more. The next issue is epidermis. Epi means upon and derma means skin. The tissue which is present upon the skin. In our case, the epidermis contains skin which contain hair, sweat glands, sebaceous glands. But in case of plants, the epidermis is either modified itself in the form of trichome or in the form of epiblema, as well as epidermis also has a protective layer, that is of cuticle. So, what is the role of epidermis? It provides protection. Second role, epiblema. It modified itself to form root hair, which absorbs the water very easily. Third function of epidermis is epidermal cell possess tiny microscopic pores known as stomata. A very, very important question. What are the functions of stomata? Stomata performs transpiration, that is loss of the excess water through plants or through leaves of the plant by the help of tiny microscopic pores known as stomata. And they are present in epidermis. So their function is literally the function of epidermis. So epidermis performs protection. It modified to form epiblema. And the third one, it possesses stomata. And stomata helps in transpiration. The loss of excess water in the form of water vapors through tiny microscopic pores known as stomata is known as transpiration. Along with that, transpiration provides a cooling effect to the plants during summer season. After this epidermis, there is a large number of cells there, but in the center there is a mucilaginous canal. This mucilaginous canal release certain mucilaginous sticky substances चिपचिपा से एक स्लाइमी सब्सटेंस रिलीज करती है विच इज म्यूसिलेज. व्हाट इज द पर्पस ऑफ दिस म्यूसिलेज? This mucilage helps the plants to get plant cells to get moisture. So these are canals. I draw only a single canal. There are multiple canals present in the stem. Basically, this portion is the cut portion. This magnified portion is seen here. अगर बच्चे इस स्टेप को इतने हिस्से को काट कर उसे मैग्नीफाई माइक्रोस्कोप में देखे तो हमें ये दिखाई देगा बच्चे. नेक्स्ट वन बच्चे, आफ्टर दैट there's a lot of empty cells are there, empty region is there, that is cortex. If that would be the diagram of stem, sorry, root, then it would be referred as root cortex, but here it is the diagram of stem, so it is simply known as cortex. Then there is a single cell thick layer that is known as endodermis. Endo means internal, dermis means skin. एंडोडर्मिस इज अ सिंगल सेल थिक लेयर. एक सेल है ना उसके ऊपर, कोई एंडोडर्मिस की सेल है नीचे दूसरी सेल्स हैं, बट दो सेल्स आर नॉट ऑफ एंडोडर्मिस. दैट्स व्हाई इट इज सेड दैट इज अ सिंगल सेल थिक लेयर. नेक्स्ट वॉच, आफ्टर दैट देयर इज अ स्ट्रक्चर नोन एज पेरिसाइकिल. पेरिसाइकिल इज अ अल्टरनेटिव कॉलनकाइमा एंड पैरेन्काइमेटस सेल्स. कॉलनकाइमा, पैरेन्काइमा, कॉलनकाइमा, पैरेन्काइमा, तो अल्टरनेटिवली. नेक्स्ट, after this, phloem is there, where the tissue which transports food from one part to another. Then these flat rectangular cells are cambium, and this cambium will lead to the formation of cork. Next, if you see this part, this has two type of cells. One is this hexagon kind of cells. These are metaxylem, and the outer of that black colored cells are protoxylem. One term which is not in detail in your 9th class bache you will study, that is secondary growth. What is secondary growth? In dicotyledonous plants, the xylem divides further to form protoxylem, means the primitive xylem, पहले वाला पुराना xylem, and the new cells of xylem are formed which are known as metaxylem. Metaxylem formed only after the secondary growth. So these are the protoxylem and metaxylem. The plants or the arrangement in which protoxylem is outside of the metaxylem, that is known as end arch. ENDARCH. Next, at the last, at the center, there is a pith. This pith is composed of parenchymatous and sclerenchymatous, but majority of parenchymatous cell takes place, or majority of parenchymatous cells is in this particular region. So this is the transverse section of a stem. I suggest you that that is not the part of your syllabus, so don't go that much further in details. Just go through it and learn whatsoever the simplest tissues you can learn from here. That is not the part of your class 9 syllabus, but if you want to choose the biology in class +1, then you must have to go through this diagram very carefully. Next, we'll check the first protective tissue, that is epidermis, that we have discussed. The second protective tissue is cork. Cork is formed by the cambium. When cambium divides, the cork, the inner region, will form the cork. Cork is not same as that of bark. There is a brown covering you must have seen on the trees, but that is bark, that is not cork. Cork is formed of tightly packed rectangular shaped cells, which is fire resistant. It's the function performed by the cork. It does not allow the plant stems to catch fire. Second, impermeable. As the cells of the cork are tightly packed, so there is no intercellular space, due to which this cork is impermeable to certain pathogens or to water, which may harm the internal tissues. So it is impermeable to the pathogens. So this is the function performed by the